In Fallout New Vegas, one of the factions we can meet is the Boomers. The group originated from Vault 34 and now roams the site of Nellis Air Force Base. With giant howitzers and impressive weaponry, the Boomers live in relative safety inside their gated community. After speaking to Pearl, the de facto leader of the faction, the courier will be tasked with helping the other group members around Nellis. Depending on your build, some quests may be easier than others. The base needs help clearing out some ants, fixing solar arrays, and you can even earn brownie points by listening to the history of the tribe. One of the Boomers we can meet is Dr. Argyle, who has a few patients in his clinic that desperately need medical attention, which the good doctor doesn't seem to be able to provide. Typically, with the right skills, the courier could perform the operations and help the Boomers. Still, if we attempt this with low intelligence, we will get a unique option, and Argyle will comment on the courier's dumb luck.
I have 3 patients here who were gravely injured fighting those giant ants in the generator building a few days ago. I've stabilized their wounds, but they're in bad shape. Do you have medical training? Well, I don't know, actually. I suppose it's possible. You should take a look. Now I know what they mean by dumb luck.
Thank you to Bones from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 3, we grow up fast in Vault 101, complete with 10th birthday party, where we receive the responsibilities of an adult along with a Pip-Boy. This is also the first place we meet Butch Deloria. In fact, we can get some unique dialogue from Butch if we eat the sweet roll Old Lady Palmer gave us before the robot destroys the cake. This will lead to Butch not becoming hostile after the conversation.
Give me that sweet roll you got from Old Lady Palmer. What? Dang, I love those sweet rolls Old Lady Palmer makes. Just stay out of my way, you got it?
Further down the line in Vault 101, Butch will come ask us to help his mother, who is being eaten by radroaches. This leads to a second unique instance with Butch, where if we picked up the BB gun before heading into the vault, we can gift him the weapon, encouraging him to solve the problem himself.
You gotta help me! My mom's trapped in there with the radroaches! Yeah, I'm asking you. So what? Look, I'm sorry for the way I've always treated you. You know I never meant any of it, right? But it's my mom. You can't leave her in there with the radroaches. Well, yeah, so I hate radroaches. So what? I tried to go back in to help her, I swear I did. But I just can't do it. So I'm begging you, please help her. I don't know what I'd do without my mom. Wow, where'd you get that? Okay, maybe I can do this. All right, I'm gonna go back in there and kill those damn roaches. Thanks.
Butchie, help me! Ah! Butchie, help me! What's happening? Ah! Butchie, help me! Ah! Stop it!
We did it! My mom's gonna be okay! You're the best friend I've ever had, man! Hey, I know it isn't much, but I want you to have my Tunnel Snake's jacket. Go ahead, take it.
In Fallout New Vegas, many of the groups and factions wear identifying outfits. These clothes are suitable for showing friends that they belong or showing enemies that they never should have come here. While larger groups like Caesar's Legion and the NCR may seem like the obvious choice for would-be cosplayers, smaller groups like the Powder Gangers offer the same scenario. If we manage to get our hands on their garb, people around the Mojave will think we're a part of the group. We can use this to get some unique dialogue out of Deputy Beagle, who's being held captive at the Bison Stephen Prim. He will have this to say if we approach him wearing a Powder Ganger outfit.
I told you Powder Ganger's everything I know. Please don't hit me anymore. Well, look at that. You weren't a Powder Ganger after all. I'd suggest against wearing that outfit around the townsfolk. You may get shot by accident. I don't suppose you came here to rescue me?
In Fallout 3, with the Broken Steel DLC installed, we can meet Scribe Bigsley. The Brotherhood water distributor spends all of his time at his desk, dealing with the other scribes stationed at Jefferson Memorial, or pulling his hair out over the problems that come with handing out clean water in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Inside Bigsley's Project Purity office is a radio marked as owned in-game. If the Lone Wanderer activates it, Scribe Bigsley and the rest of the Brotherhood in the area will immediately turn hostile and start attacking the player.
The boss is in one of his moods.
Over here! Fire!
Thank you to Arctic Penguin from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout Brotherhood of Steel, we find ourselves in an enormous crater after helping the town of Carbon, Texas. The hole is rather large and holds many secrets, as well as what seems to be an entire sunken settlement and a couple of the biggest scorpions I have ever seen. In the crater upper level, we can find a little throwback to a classic movie that some people may have missed by not being very observant or because they were busy not playing this game. We can find a ruined building close to the lower level entrance, and inside we find an outhouse. If we interact with the outhouse, the player character will say, "Oh look, an indoor outhouse." This is a direct reference to the classic movie Beetlejuice, which uses the same line.
Oh, look, an indoor outhouse.
Thank you to Steven, the 429th from the Discord server, for suggesting this one. In Fallout 4, the various cities, settlements, and open wasteland are not the only places that hold interesting and unique things. The beautiful coasts of the greater Massachusetts area hold their own secrets, and eagle-eyed explorers may just come across them in their travels. Along the beaches of Boston, we can find quite a few messages from who knows where stuffed in bottles. Each one of these bottle messages starts a miscellaneous quest that leads to a steamer trunk filled with leveled loot. The first letter, titled Trapped for Days, can be found close to the Children of Atom hangout spot, the Crater House, and the message reads, "I've been trapped in this boat for days. There was some kind of tidal wave that came from the west. It flipped us over. Looks like I'm the only one that made it. If you can consider my current situation making it. I still somehow have air to breathe. I guess that means the boat must still be on the surface. Please, if you get this note, I need help." Bottle message number 2, Predator Becomes Prey, is located near the castle, and the letter reads, "John was pulled out to sea. The fish was huge. I told him not to tether the pole to himself, but he wouldn't listen. If only he hadn't put the keys in his pocket." The third letter that we can find is near the wreck of the FMS Northern Star. Titled Not Going Well, the message simply reads, "I'm screwed." Bottle message 4, called Need a Hand, is found near the Boston airport, and the letter reads, "I thought I ate a fish today. It didn't taste right. Then I realized while writing this that I ate my own hand. I think I'm losing it." The fifth bottle message is a reference to the movie Die Hard. The title of the letter is Difficult to Kill, and the writing is a quote from the film. "Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs."
Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs.
The sixth and final bottle message can be found near Nahant Oceanological Society. The letter is called X Marks the Spot, and the statement reads, "I swear that the treasure is real. They mentioned it on the television, I must paddle faster." I love finding things like this in the Fallout universe. It's a lot of fun to think about where these bottles may have washed up from, and just who sent them. Of course, unique item hunters will want to collect these. Still, these quests are also nice for people who like to get a bit of a loot reward, as the steamer chests that the letters lead to offer decent gear for your level. So the next time you're on the beach in the Commonwealth, keep your eyes peeled for a bottle. You never know what's going to be inside. In Fallout 4, we can find plenty of places to explore while out and about in the Commonwealth. From ancient storefronts, abandoned factories, and even derelict old homes, the world of Fallout 4 has no shortage of places for the sole survivor to plunder. The biggest settlement we can find in the Commonwealth is Diamond City. The town acts as a melting pot for the variety of people we can meet in Fallout 4. One person we can meet at the Dugout Inn is Edward Deegan. Deegan can be found in a few other places as well, but our primary focus is the quest that the ghoul has for the sole survivor. Following the quest, we will be led to the Cabot House. The house and the family that occupy it have a lot going on. To say they have a storied past would be an understatement, but what we are going to be looking at today is the Cabot House's generosity overall. Once we have full access to the home, we can loot the house freely. There is a thieves' ransom of pre-war items to take from the Cabot House. We can even find a mini nuke and a fat man here. The great part about all this loot is that it will never run out. If the sole survivor loots everything in the house and then fast travels away, for example, heading to Sanctuary to drop everything off, by the time we return, every single item will have respawned, allowing us to loot it all over again. This is an excellent way to farm some items and components for your settlements, and the Cabot House itself is a great place to relax. Finally, you can set up the army of Fat Man wielding raiders that you've always wanted. In Fallout 3, our search for unique items continues. While some sit ready for us to get our hands on them, others are hidden behind events that won't spawn into the game until specific criteria are met. One such weapon can be found if the Lone Wanderer targets the Citadel on the Enclave mobile platform, sealing its fate to be destroyed, leaving a crater behind. Inside the crater, we can see a door, and once we enter it, we find ourselves in some offices. One of the cubicles in the back belonged to a Herald Callahan. With a science skill of 75, we can read some of his reports and unlock the safe next to his desk, which is also locked at 75 for lockpicking. Inside the safe, we can find, without a doubt, the most valuable pistol in Fallout 3, which happens to be one of the rarest, Callahans Magnum. Aside from being the most valuable, it is also the most powerful handgun in the game. The name Harold Callahan is a reference to the main character of the movie Dirty Harry, Harry Callahan, played by Clint Eastwood. While this gun is an excellent reference to the film, rare item hunters will want to grab it regardless due to the steps it takes to get it to spawn. A pleasant surprise for those who want to take an evil karma run all the way to the end. Thank you to Sean Eastwood from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 4, the Commonwealth offers an amazing number of people to meet and places to go. One of the best features of Fallout 4 is the world map. From Sanctuary to the Glowing Sea, there's no shortage of adventure in the Commonwealth. If we head to Green Tech Genetics, we can find one of the more peculiar residents of the Boston area. At the nearby unmarked location known as Kendall Parking, we can see this garage holds much more than just wrecked pre-war cars. Inside, we can find one of the many scoundrels of the wasteland, the Suicide Mole Rat. These little guys seem to have fragmentation mines strapped to their backs, and the woman who calls the Kendall Parking Garage home is the one responsible for this. Simply known as Drifter in-game, this woman wanders the garage talking to her mole rat pets with insane ramblings. However, suppose the sole survivor takes out the mole rats without being seen, or uses the animal friend perk to pacify them. In that case, this Drifter will remain non-hostile, and we will get a chance to speak with her. This leads to a few unique dialogue lines that we wouldn't have access to had the Drifter attacked and we had to fight her. While she will say "this for you" in her speech, she doesn't give any items, so she could just be referring to the garage as a living space, as referenced by her other dialogue.
Excuse me.
You friend, also the rats. This for you then. You in trouble? You can sleep here with the ratties. Warm, fleshy ratties.
Hey there.
Yeah. Ratties know who's a friend and who's a foe.
In Fallout New Vegas, one of the locations we can visit is the Old Mormon Fort in Freeside. This is home to the followers of the Apocalypse and their regional administrator, Julie Farkas. Julie helps the area of Freeside the best she can, and this includes the courier, as she will treat our wounds and sell what medical supplies she has. If the courier asks for help with very low health, we will get some unique dialogue from the doctor.
Okay, what level of care do you require? I'm amazed you managed to limp here with your legs like that. I didn't think red, purple, and swollen was your natural eye color. I can fix that right up. How have you been using the bathroom with your arms that messed up? Oh, forget I asked. Oof. You might want to brace yourself. This might get a bit painful. This should help with the pain.
Evening.
In the Fallout series, we can find many vaults throughout each game. While some are more infamous than others, the vaults are some of the most exciting locations in the Fallout universe. The Fallout Wasteland isn't the only place we can find evidence of these bunkers, and a few other game franchises have paid homage to the Vault-Tec facilities, such as Doom, where during breaks between slaying demons, if we look at some of the doors, we can see that Vault-Tec has been contributing to this base as well, with their logo appearing at the bottom of the doors. We can also find this Vault-Tec themed Doom Guy figure in the Foundry level of the game. A more direct reference comes to us from the Badlands of Cyberpunk 2077, where if we find ourselves in the Rattlesnake Creek area, we can find a few dead bodies surrounding a circular door with the number 101 on it. Investigating the area, we can find correspondence from Albert Cole and Gary Epps, which discusses the post-apocalyptic LARP game that they were trying to play. In the messages, we can see that they started a story that saw them leaving the vault to look for a hydroprocessor or water chip before all the other bunker dwellers ran out of fresh water. People familiar with Fallout will notice this mimics the story of the first Fallout game, as the vault dweller left Vault 13 to find a water chip for the same reasons. The name Albert Cole is referencing a playable character you could choose in Fallout as well, with the other name, Gary Epps, being a reference to GURPS, a character system Fallout was set to use before legal issues influenced the team to change it to the special system, though fans of Fallout 3 could say that this is a reference to the clones of Gary. The name Albert used in Fallout references the film A Boy and His Dog, a movie from which the Fallout series takes a ton of inspiration, including the name of dog meat.
I'm funny enough to kick you upside the butt. I said fine, and I ain't kidding.
One does not say ain't, Albert. Simply say, I'm not kidding.
Fine, dog meat. And stop calling me Albert.
Of course, the 101 door is an obvious reference to Vault 101 from Fallout 3. This whole Easter egg is a love letter to the Fallout series, and it makes me find the world in Cyberpunk a little more charming. I consider this a must-visit spot for anyone close to Night City. In Fallout New Vegas, keeping to himself in a cave near Camp Golf, we can meet Cannibal Johnson. While stoically waiting for death to claim him, he seems to think back to his past a lot. Johnson was stationed at Navarro during the events of Fallout 2 and has bittersweet memories of the company drill sergeant, Ark Dornan. We can hear him think back about a blistering rant Sarge gave the Chosen One while at Navarro.
There's a twitch in my trigger finger. I've lost my eagle eyes, and the other day I could have sworn I heard Sergeant Dornan chewing me out. I'm old and I'm starting to feel it. It's not pleasant, especially when you know your mind's slipping away. And we all gotta go sometime. But I was hoping for something a little more heroic. He was a drill instructor I knew. He was also the meanest bastard I've ever known. Once he caught this private out of uniform, and old Dornan went off on the most ear-blistering rant known to man. It was inspiring.
This leads to one of my favorite interactions in Fallout 2, and judging by this poll, more than a few of you may not have seen it. Dornan has a few lines in Fallout 2. First, he can order the Chosen One to guard duty.
Welcome to Camp Navarro. So you're the replacement. What's your name, Private? What was that? Did you forget something, maggot? I am not his sir! I work for a living, you moron! You will call me Sergeant or Sergeant Dornan. Do you understand me? Outstanding. Proceed on the double to the hangar, where you will stand guard duty. You will do a fine job. Do you understand? You moron! You are not to question my orders. When I say jump, you jump. When I say fight, you fight. When I tell you to die for your country, then you will certainly die. Have I made myself clear?
He can also spot the Chosen One as a civilian and remove them from the base. If he sees us again, Dornan will assume that we are a spy and alert the base.
Welcome to Camp Navarro. A civilian? How in the hell did a civilian get on this base? I'll have someone's ask for dinner. Get the civilian off government property. Well, I'll be damned. I had the bunch of you escorted off this base, and here you are again. I don't think you're civilians after all. More than likely, you're spies. Sound the alarm and execute these maggots.
Still, the interaction that Johnson is referring to is by far my favorite. First, we can convince Sarge that we just weren't issued any power armor, which will cause him to send us to get some from supply.
Welcome to Camp Navarro. So you're the new replacement. You are out of uniform, soldier. Where is your power armor? Those paper-shuffling jackasses. How the hell do they expect me to run this unit if they keep shortchanging me on supplies? Double time it over to the armory and get your issue, then report back to me. Dismissed! Soldier, you are still out of uniform. I gave you a direct order to report to supplies and get your issue. Now get out of my face and don't come back until you look like a soldier!
If the Chosen One fails this attempt, the blistering rant that Cannibal Johnson was talking about comes out in full effect.
Don't have any? You expect me to believe that, maggot? The truth is, you lost an expensive piece of Army issue equipment. That suit is going to come out of your pay, and you will remain in this man's army until you are 510 years old, which is the number of years it will take for you to pay for a Mark II powered combat armor you have lost. Report to the armory and have a new suit issued to you. Then report back to me, Private. Dismissed.
In Fallout 4, we're thrust into the Commonwealth naked and afraid. The world has changed so much since the sole survivor first entered Vault 111, but we have to make the most of the cards that were dealt. There are plenty of items to be found all around the wasteland, but one junk item has nearly no use and weighs far too much to be worth the trouble of taking it back to your camp: the 160-pound dumbbell. Keen players will notice that this item is not a dumbbell at all, but rather a barbell. Still, it carries 160 pounds of weight, which will undoubtedly make it a chore for anyone looking to take it home. While these are a good source of lead, the dumbbells are the heaviest items that we can pick up and add to our inventory in-game. At least in this post-war world, you can still get some lifting done. But you will have quite the build if you plan on carrying these back to your stash. Thank you to Grilled Cheese and Random Gamer from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 4, a large part of the experience is all the interesting people that we can meet throughout the Commonwealth. From vendors to scientists and even robots, the Wasteland has plenty of characters to meet in your travels. In Diamond City, at the schoolhouse, we can meet the teacher, Mr. Zawicki, and his classroom assistant, Miss Edna, who is a Miss Nanny-style robot, similar to the Mr. Handy line. If we speak to Edna, she will ask the sole survivor about love, and if it can exist between two very different people.
I have one more question before you leave. It's not another quiz. I don't get to talk to many adults. This love I hear about, do you think you can have it for someone, even if the two of you are very, very different?
Who are you talking about?
No one. Just imagine one is tall and handsome and smart, and one is gentle but a bit metallic.
If you love someone, hold on to them. Tomorrow you might not have the chance.
Thank you. You have helped me make up my mind about something.
This starts an unmarked quest called Wedding Day. If we support Edna's ideas of love, we will see Zawicki and Edna in a wedding ceremony in front of the All Faiths Chapel the next time we return to Diamond City.
Diamond City. Are you sure about this? I am not a normal girl.
My dear, you're perfect. I only wish I had realized that sooner.
Then by the power invested in me, I pronounce you man and wife.
All these years, I never realized how much she meant to me until she said something.
I know what this love is now.
Edna.
I'm so happy.
In Fallout 3, a ton of items can boost our stats and make the Lone Wanderer a bit more formidable in the capital wastes. Whether it's a nice set of armor or even a pair of cool sunglasses, there is no shortage of things to find around town. In Big Town, we can find out that super mutants have kidnapped some of the residents. Before we go check that out, if we enter the clinic, we can find Time Bomb, who's very seriously injured. With a medicine skill of at least 40, we can treat Time Bomb, which will be required to obtain the item that we are after. After rescuing Red and Shorty from the mutants, we can teach the citizens of Big Town various ways to protect themselves and help them fend off another wave of the super mutants. If we make sure Time Bomb survives this attack, we can speak with him after and he will award us his prized possession, a lucky 8-ball, the only one like it in the game. It doesn't weigh much and has a pretty low in-game value, but having it in your inventory will boost your luck stat by 1, of course being capped at 10. This isn't the first time such an item has found its way into the Fallout series, and I hope it won't be the last. While the 8-ball in Fallout 3 doesn't seem to be entirely modeled after the famous toy, I believe it's implied that it's the same kind of trinket found in Fallout 2, which I've covered before. Whatever the case, this 8-ball is a great good luck charm to carry throughout the capital wasteland. Helping the kids at Big Town is always its own reward. At least they won't be such easy pickings for the next time the super mutants attack. In Fallout New Vegas, there are rare items scattered throughout the Mojave just waiting for a courier to get their hands on them. The desert wasteland is deceptively sneaky when it comes to its treasures. Still, those with an eagle eye can spot the diamonds in the rough. One of the biggest treasure coves is the Devil's Throat, a dark nickname for a radiated hole in the ground crawling with centaurs. Inside the radioactive pit, we can find a truck, and inside the trailer, we can find a dead prospector with one of the rarest hats in the game, the party hat. We can also find the unique minigun, the CZ-57 Avenger, one of the best weapons in New Vegas, lying next to the unlucky Explorer. While the party hat doesn't offer much in the way of boosts or armor, the rarity of the item itself could drive a person to collect it, as this is the only party hat that can be found in the game. We can find around 10 similar hats at the RepCon test site. Still, these are the destroyed variant of the object and are not the same and cannot even be repaired with the intact party hat. Hiding something as silly as a party hat in one of the most dangerous areas of the game, right next to one of the best weapons that can be found, is the type of thing that makes me love Fallout. The hat acts as a reward itself due to its rarity, so you get a fun trinket for exploring along with finding the Avenger. Make sure to stop by the Devil's Throat to get this hat so you can properly celebrate your new minigun. Thank you to Leif Saturmo from the YouTube comments for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the locations we can visit is Jacobstown, a city of super mutants that revolves around the Jacobstown Lodge. Inside the lodge, we can find a few things that can only be found here, like the Mount Charleston snow globe for example, but we can find an old pre-war game in the lodge that can't be found anywhere else in the Mojave. Upstairs, in one of the bedrooms available for guests of the resort, we can find an old pinball machine. This is the only pinball machine that exists in Fallout New Vegas, and because of that, it's worth a stop for people who like to check out rare items and objects. A lot of people have suggested this for a video on Discord and in the YouTube comments. In Fallout New Vegas, we can meet a variety of creatures that call the Mojave home. From fierce cazadores to lowly radroaches, the wasteland has no shortage of hostile monsters for the courier to find. One of the most common Mojave animals is the gecko. While it comes in many colors and sizes, these monster lizards should not be taken lightly if discovered in your adventures. One thing that some players miss, due to the geckos being hostile and the scarcity of water in the desert, is the fact that these mutated reptiles actually have a unique swimming animation. Like most creatures in Fallout New Vegas, the gecko will float in water when found in wet areas, but if the liquid is deep enough, we can see the geckos use this animation to become more hydrodynamic. This is not only a cute animation, but it is pretty accurate to how lizards swim in the real world, adding a bit of fun realism to the otherwise larger-than-life specimen. While rare, it is possible to catch geckos in Fallout New Vegas going for a swim, but keep your distance, as they won't be relaxing for long if the courier decides to join them for a dip in the pool. Thank you to Azzy and Adam77 from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 3, with the Broken Steel DLC, we can meet Brother Gerard at the Holy Light Monastery after dealing with Project Purity. Gerard is the first officer of the Apostles of the Eternal Light, which is a small group with more extreme views from the Children of Adam. If the Lone Wanderer waits to deal with the bomb in Megaton, we can inform Gerard of our plan to blow it up.
Oh, is that truly possible? Yes, that would purge all of Megaton in Adam's holy fire. I shall pray for your success.
Once we set off the bomb, if we return to Megaton, we can see the Holy Light Monastery leader, Mother Curry III, has turned into a feral ghoul reaver. Once she is dealt with, we can find a now ghoulified Brother Gerard, who will pray at the town's ruins, basking in the light of Adam.
We came to Megaton to preach of the eternal glow. I saw Adam's holy light. I touched Adam himself. I felt his warm embrace. Mother Curie, she changed. I changed too, but I'm still myself. Poor Mother Curie. She saw the face of Adam, and it drove her mad. I don't know what to do. I think I'll stay here. Pray to Adam. Pray for his guidance. For he has made me of the eternal, the undying. I am his now.
In Fallout 4, many pre-war treasures are waiting for us to get our hands on them. Commonwealth is filled with random junk and objects that, while some just pass by without a second thought, hold more than meets the eye. Inside the many buildings that call the Boston area home, some of these items have been more preserved, perhaps shielded from the outside stresses. One of these objects is the globe, for which we can find many scattered across the wasteland. Typically, we will see clean versions of this inside vaults and other high-tech facilities. However, we can still find a bunch of antique globes out in the more common areas. In Jamaica Plain, we can find a building hosting treasures and an exhibit downstairs. The showcase features many unique objects like the 2076 World Series baseball bat and a car that won a derby. Still, this room hosts the rarest globe in Fallout 4. The Classroom Globe is the only one of its kind in Fallout 4. While it shares a texture with its antique globe counterpart, it is considered a different item. You can break the globe down for components if you want, but with how rare the item is, you may just want to display it in your settlement. Thank you to LTOMXR123 from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 4, the Gunners are some of the most fierce enemies that we can face in the Commonwealth, taking inspiration from the pre-war armed forces of the United States when it comes to ranking, and showing nearly no mercy out in the wastes. The Gunners make raiders look like child's play. One thing that gets a tiny mention in a terminal in the ruins of Quincy that often goes unnoticed by a vast majority of Fallout 4 players is the unique branding that most Gunners carry on their foreheads. Looking closely at some of these mercs, we can see letters tattooed on their foreheads, sometimes followed by a symbol. This is actually the person's blood type and is used to offer more efficient first aid with quick response. It's no surprise that the most highly trained group of mercenaries in the Commonwealth have such a system. Still, it is a small detail that many people have missed when dealing with the group due to their love for combat helmets and their habit of getting their heads blown off when near the sole survivor. Thank you to Darty from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In the Point Lookout DLC for Fallout 3, the Lone Wanderer washes up on the shore of a mysterious swampy island and is thrust into a generational war between a ghoul named Desmond and the island's prodigal son, Professor Calvert. Calvert is now sustained by an advanced biomed gel with his brain kept alive under the famous Point Lookout lighthouse. Due to the nature of the liquid he rests in, Calvert has seemed to develop psychic powers, harboring the ability to speak to people telepathically. During the quest, Thought Control, Desmond gives the Lone Wanderer a cogwave jammer to stop the Professor's influence, and we see this talent firsthand, as Calvert will begin to speak to us in our mind and try to sway the player to his way of thinking. Bethesda uses a nifty trick to pull this off in-game, and we can notice signs of it when around the Ferris wheel. Players may see a friendly NPC tick on their compass when in the area that doesn't seem to be visible by normal means. This is because it belongs to the human version of Calvert that the developers placed inside a building to allow the player to hear his dialogue. If we no-clip inside the nearby Cup of Joe cafe, we can find a Pulowski preservation shelter that cannot be opened. No-clipping inside, we can find an invisible NPC known only as the Brain. This NPC cannot be spoken to directly or pickpocketed, and killing him will only result in the NPC reviving nearly instantly. This is just another cool trick Bethesda uses to make the magic we see on our screens happen. It's common for developers to use hidden maneuvers to make our favorite games more fun and immersive, and this is a perfect example of how to do it. Thank you to Steven the 429th from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, the city is crawling with good and bad alike. New Vegas is a city of vice and prosperity for those who seek either. With such a place, it has left a lasting influence on the groups and individuals that call the area home. One casino in particular has quite the shroud of mystery around it, the Ultralux. The residents, the White Glove Society, who wear masks to protect this mystery, have a strange appetite, and even stranger things lie around the resort. Inside the kitchen of the Gourmand, we can find a few mysterious items that do not seem to have any use in-game. The infected Brahmin meat. This meat is unique because if we pick it up and add it to our inventory, it will be filed under miscellaneous items instead of aid. This means we cannot consume this meat, and with its low value and high weight, rare item hunters will want to store it away as a trophy instead of selling it. The infected Brahmin meat was going to be used in a quest that would see the courier using it in a stew for legionaries at the fort. This meat could have been added to the mongrel's dog bowls as well, but these quests were cut from the final game. This would explain why the meat appears in our inventory as miscellaneous items rather than aid like most food in game. So if you are a fan of rare items and cut quests, these 6 slabs of Brahmin meat will act as a perfect trophy in your player home. Thank you to Memesboit and Toxic Caviar from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 3, there are a few unique interactions we can get from the ex-raider who now calls Megaton home, Jericho. First, Jericho will have a different opening line depending on what the Lone Wanderer is wearing. He will have this to say if we are wearing a Vault 101 jumpsuit.
Oh, look, another one of your pampered Vault assholes. Look here, Vault asshole. I don't like you. Stay clear of me and we'll have no trouble.
And if we wear something different, he will change his speech to call the Lone Wanderer a Wastelander.
Ah, look, another one of you wasteland assholes. Look here, asshole. I don't like you. Stay clear of me and we'll have no trouble.
After we recruit Jericho, if we move a pack of cigarettes to his inventory, he will now smoke them for his idle animation. pretty much chain-smoking each cigarette until you hit the road again. If we have Jericho in our party when we nuke Megaton and then fire him so he returns to the ruins, he will have some dialogue about the town being destroyed and a comment about growing a fourth arm.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Boo-hoo, Megaton blew up. These fuckers deserve what they got. Now, can we get out of here? Or should I just keep waiting next to this stinking hole? Thank Christ. I thought I was gonna grow a fourth arm sitting next to all this fucking radiation.
Thank you to Bayoyo from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the companions we can recruit is Lily Bowen, a grandma turned nightkin who spends her time at Jacobstown. While Lily always seems to have something to say about the NPCs we meet and the scenarios that we are in, we can get some unique dialogue by bringing her to a few places. We get these Voicelands by taking Lily to a vault, the Strip, Novak, Black Mountain, and the bombed out town outside Nellis, which seems to trigger quite a different response from the Nightkin.
My, this reminds me of when I was a girl. Right over there would have been where your grandpa and I had our first kiss. All these lights fancy. Ooh, look, Pumpkin, a dinosaur. Do you want to ride the dinosaur? I wonder if Marcus knows about this place. Loud! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1. Time for medicine.
Thank you to Bob98 from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 3, the lone wanderer stumbles from Vault 101 with hope in their heart and a gleam in their eye. While the capital wasteland may dash that hope after a bit of time on the surface, it doesn't stop us from meeting all kinds of interesting people. The Fallout series has a fun history of allowing a lot of player freedom. The classic games are renowned for the options they give players when it comes to different approaches to character building and quest solving. One of the most entertaining routes a player could take is lowering the intelligence stat to under 3 or 4. This changes the way dialogue plays out in both Fallout and Fallout 2. Still, this is something that carried on in the series in more minor ways. For example, possibly the only low intelligence dialogue that appears in Fallout 3 can be found by talking to a robot at Roosevelt Academy. The school grounds are swarming with super mutants during the events of Fallout 3, which makes it a dangerous place for sure. One thing I want to point out about Roosevelt Academy is a scene that plays when we enter the main room on the ground level. A gunshot can be heard, and a dead NPC falls from the ceiling. This happens even if all of the super mutants are dead or if the AI is turned off through the console, so it could be referencing that this man took his own life, or it could be trying to imply that he was killed by mutants as soon as we arrive. We can find the headmaster's terminal in one of the rooms here. Hacking it will allow us to activate Dean Dewey, a Protectron who is now programmed to act as the principal of Roosevelt Academy. Many players do not interact much with Dewey as he is easily destroyed by the super mutants in the school, so if we make sure to clear out the group before activating the robot, we can have some more time with him. If the lone wanderer has an intelligence stat set to 3 or lower, we get a unique dialogue option for Dean Dewey, who will then refer to the player as a special student and insist on walking them back to class. However, he doesn't lead us to any specific classroom after.
No students in hall without pass. Visitors must sign in at administration. Special needs students must be chaperoned at all times. Allow me to escort you back to class, child.
In Fallout 3, the main quest will lead us to Galaxy News Radio, the stage for an incredible battle between the Brotherhood of Steel and some of DC's resident super mutants. Suppose the Lone Wanderer has the Power Armor training perk and finishes the battle with the Brotherhood. In that case, you can equip the Power Armor from the downed Brotherhood Knight. Doing so before talking to Sarah Lyons will cause her to have some unique dialogue where she seems a little tense about us having the Power Armor.
I guess it's my turn to thank you. Anyway, the area is secure, so you're free to talk to Three Dog if you need to. By the way, because you helped us, I'm going to let you wear that power armor, but don't you ever forget where it came from.
Thank you to Vilnia from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the best shops you can visit is Mick and Ralphs. The two have a great setup in Freeside, but if players keep their eyes open, we can find some things that may hint at the duo's past. Leaning against one of the walls are posters for the Super Duper Mart, which we do not see in Fallout New Vegas as a location. Still, in Fallout 3, the Lone Wanderer was tasked to explore one of the supermarkets for the Wasteland Survival Guide. This pairs well with a poster that we can find upstairs above a desk advertising the Museum of Technology, another primary location from Fallout 3, with a nuanced picture of the Virgo 2 lunar lander. Both of these posters were in Fallout 3, and it's interesting that we would find them here, as typically Fallout developers leave things like this as clues. The final oddity that we can find here at Mick and Ralphs hangs above the register. We can see a bundle of those creepy dolls that the swamp folk like in Point Lookout. Perhaps whoever designed the store just thought that these items would tie the room together, using things they found fitting in the game's files, though it is likely that these curiosities were put here to hint at Mick and Ralph being from the East Coast themselves, or having a lot of business from someone who was. Either way, this is an interesting find for anyone in the Freeside area. Thank you to Rex from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, we can meet the people of the Mojave. While not all of them are the friendly type, one of the most beloved can be found as soon as we start our journey. Doc Mitchell is the resident medicine man of Good Springs, and he spends his time patching people up and tending to his home. Though times seem good for Mitch now, that wasn't always the case, and if we do some traveling, we can piece together his story. Doc Mitchell is from Vault 21, and if we visit the vault on the Strip and speak with Sarah, we can get a bit more info about the Good Springs doctor.
Mitch? You mean Molebutt? I hadn't thought about that name in a long time. I was just a child and he had a big mole in his rear bumper. You understand, kids and all that. Everyone knows about each other in a vault. There's no other way. I hope Mitch is doing well.
If we head back to Doc Mitchell after speaking with Sarah, we can ask him about being from Vault 21. He will then reveal the saddest part of his story.
Yep, he sure did. Wanted himself a hotel, and to make sure once he made the change there'd never be any going back. We didn't get a say. I don't know how you'd argue with a fella like that anyways, everywhere and nowhere all at once. So, just like that, we was all homeless. Went our separate ways, and that was all she wrote. Eventually, we made our way out here, but, when folks spend their lives in isolation, sometimes that ain't the best of things for learning to fight off germs. We was going to California, but Good Springs was as far as we got. After she passed, wasn't no reason to keep going. I stayed so I could keep close to her.
In Fallout New Vegas, there are plenty of apparel options to suit your needs throughout the Mojave and beyond. From basic clothing to the heaviest of armors, you are sure to find something to fit the type of courier you would like to play as. All clothing is not created equally though, and some can fetch quite the price from vendors, which led me to look for the most valuable clothes we can find in the game. In regards to non-armor clothing, the search brings us to Big Mountain, where the events of the Old World Blues DLC take place. And for the most valuable clothes, we have to look at the most valuable doctor on site, Dr. Mobius. Inside the Forbidden Dome, we can find a chest that holds Dr. Mobius's scrubs. With a value of 7,500, this stands as the most expensive clothing item in Fallout New Vegas. Aside from the value, the scrubs will boost intelligence by 2, charisma by 1, and science by 15. They also host the highest damage threshold of all traditional clothing. We can find the unique unarmed weapon, Dr. Mobius's glove, as well, and pairing these items with some glasses that can be found behind an average locked door in the think tank, lying on the floor of the room, that also belong to Mobius, we will complete the Mobius Strip Challenge for a bit of XP. This whole outfit will fetch a high price from vendors if caps are what you are after, but the fact that the entire ensemble is composed of unique items may just cause you to store it in your closet. Either way, this is an outfit everyone will want to grab on the way out of Big Mountain. Thank you to Azzy from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 3, in the town of Megaton, we can meet a very patriotic man named Nathan Vargas. When speaking with him, he will inform the Lone Wanderer about the wonderful group, the Enclave. Nathan will sing their praises pretty high, and this is the first bit of info in Fallout 3 that we get about the faction.
Ah, look at this! New blood! Tell me, boy, you ever hear of the Enclave? The last remnant of the good old USA they are. Now, I don't know you from Adam, but I got you pegged for a patriot, and any patriot worth his salt is gonna toss his gun in for the Enclave. Any day now, they're gonna roll up here, and then this nightmare will be over for good. But listen to me, Ramble. I'm Nathan. What can I do for you? Why? Why? Look around you. This is the good old USA. Sure, she looks a little bit different these days, but you're still on American soil. And even if you were born in some underground vault, you were born under the United States, which makes you an American. And it's your duty and my duty to support our country and our president, no matter what. Understand? Now, there's a proud patriot. After all, if they could do us wrong, we wouldn't have elected them in the first place, right? Yes, sir. Trust in the judgment of other people to know what's best for me. It's the American way. They're on the radio. They have been for years. President Eden talks about everything they're doing. They got flying robots all around, watching everything so they know what to do when they finally swoop in and clean this place up. You'll see. People think I'm just a crazy old man. Things will be different when the Enclave gets here.
In an excellent callback towards the end of the main quest, we can find Nathan at the Enclave's Raven Rock base, and his tune has changed quite a bit from his days at Megaton.
They're not who they say they are. Get out while you can, before they get you too.
Thank you to Ranon from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, we can find some of the most unique weapons in the series. The Mojave is great at hiding fun things to collect, and the various one-of-a-kind weapons are just the tip of the iceberg. At Mick and Ralphs, we can find a few of these, but one has a bit more going on than meets the eye. When speaking to Mick, we can buy the Nuka Breaker, a unique melee weapon made from an old Nuka-Cola sign. This is a nod to the fan-created web series Nuka Break. Ironically enough, the creators of the series saw an early screenshot of the sign from an advertisement for the GRA DLC and put it in their show. This means that the devs of New Vegas, some of which appeared in Nuka Break, liked the show so much they paid homage to it with this weapon. Still, before it was added to the game proper, the creative minds behind the Nuka Break series added the same sign to the show, eventually having it used in battle. It's great to see the Fallout developers adding references to fan-created media. It makes the community feel awesome to be a part of, and the Nuka Break show is one of the best Fallout stories out there. I highly recommend watching it if you haven't already. Thank you to Local from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 4, we can find a ton of ads and posters that litter the Commonwealth. Many of them are fantastic portrayals of life in the pre-war, advertising various things that made life better back then. However, we can find a poster in Far Harbor that, while at first glance looks just like a scientific reference guide, holds a humorous message that eagle-eyed explorers could spot if they are paying attention. Inside the Children of Adam shrine, we can find this periodic table of elements, which we must study to complete the Visions of the Fog quest. If we look closely at the center text, we can see a message that reads, "Todd Howard is amazing in everything his hands touch." No kidding. This can be hard to see, so I tried to make a picture outlining the text. We can see it a little clearer in Fallout 76, where the poster appears in a few locations. This is, of course, a reference to Bethesda Game Studios director Todd Howard and is a quip about his skill as a developer, or a meme about his presence in internet pop culture. Whatever the case, it's a funny message that shows the classic Fallout humor that longtime fans of the series are accustomed to. Fallout is no stranger to breaking the fourth wall and having fun with the team, and this is a great example that could be easily missed. In the Fallout 3 DLC, The Pit, we are thrust into the broken world of Pittsburgh after the devastating events of the Great War. What is left is a hellish radioactive shell of what once was. One of the most interesting sights in the pit is the twisted sculpture of a human in front of Haven. With fire exploding around it and the looming tower behind the artwork, it really sets the scene for the vibe that the pit has to offer. Nate Perkapile, the lead artist for the DLC, has recently shed some light on the inspiration for the sculpture. Nate has cited that the statue was inspired by artwork he saw at Burning Man, the annual festival in Nevada's Black Rock Desert. The following year, Nate would return to the Burning Man Festival and battle Fallout 3's art director, Istvan, in the Thunderdome. This whole trip is referenced in Fallout 4 as well on a cover of Live and Love, where the developers are represented in the art. Nate has since left Bethesda and is now working on a game called The Axis Unseen, which he describes as a heavy metal horror game where you hunt monsters from folklore in an open world. Make sure to wishlist the game on Steam if that sounds interesting, and look for updates from Just Perky Games. Thank you to Get Wrecked from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 4, we can visit plenty of locations that still hold moments from the pre-war, flash frozen sometimes due to the Great War itself, and others just seemingly untouched for over 200 years. In the Boston Commons, we can find a lot of these places, old buildings sticking out like relics, but still, for whatever reason, undisturbed by everything that calls the Commonwealth home these days. One of the most significant spots in this area before the war was the Bolston Club. The most influential people in the world would meet here for social events, ex-presidents and vice presidents, governors, and senators all gathering for dinners and wine tastings. The final meeting that took place at the Bolston Club was anything but festive, as 1 week after the Great War, as the world burned in nuclear fire, the members would taste their last bit of wine and poison themselves after a toast from the Bolston member Richard Bradford, which was recorded and can still be found in the club terminal.
It's closing time, gentlemen. If any of you have changed your mind, it's time to go. James will see you out. No one? Very well. Gentlemen, it has been an honor and a privilege. Before we drink, allow me to offer a final toast. To the world that was, mankind shall never see its like again.
We can still find the poisoned wine here amongst the skeletons of the former Bolston Club members. Drinking them will not affect the sole survivor negatively. We seem to be immune to the poison. Other NPCs, however, are not so lucky and will get poisoned by the wine. This is one of the rarest beverages in Fallout 4 and can only be found here in this building. This sets it far higher on the value scale than its standard counterpart, with a value of 50. So even if you are not a rare item hunter, making a trip is well worth the caps, and since the poison doesn't affect us, feel free to down a bottle for all your hard work. In Fallout Brotherhood of Steel, we play as a Brotherhood initiate that winds up in the town of Carbon, Texas. What follows is an adventure for sure, a journey filled with raiders, giant scorpions, and well-endowed supervillains. One thing to take note of while playing through Fallout Brotherhood of Steel is the various posters and adverts that we can find littered throughout the game. The most egregious of the ads comes from the many billboards and posters for Ball's energy drink. The signature blue bottle even appears in the game, and the devs went as far as to change the bottle cap currency from Nuka Cola caps to Ball's energy caps. This was a part of an advertising deal that really showed the financial state of Interplay at the time. Another jarring poster showing up as early as Carbon in Fallout Brotherhood of Steel is the Fallout ad plastered all over the sides of the buildings. While it's a friendly reminder that we are playing a Fallout game, it's for that very reason it's so out of place. The poster of the Vault Dwellers with the Fallout logo emblazoned on it is the art that was used to promote the original Fallout, and, in my opinion, some of the best concept art for the series that exists. While Fallout Brotherhood of Steel is certainly not the pinnacle of Fallout lore, it's odd to see a poster advertising the game series that you are currently playing. It makes the world feel off, but that's kind of how the entire game feels, so maybe it's right at home. Thank you to Red Zeo Power Ranger from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 4, we can find many locations filled with stories from the past. Whether it's an old highway, a rundown house, or even ancient businesses, the Fallout universe showcases the pre-war well, almost flash frozen at the moment the bombs dropped. Downtown Boston hosts a ton of these types of locations, and one unmarked bar may look familiar to some people, and there is a good reason for that. The Prost Bar in the Boston Commons area is a near exact replica of the bar from the hit 80s show, Cheers. The layout of the pub is spot on, and the skeletons littered around the inside represent characters from the show, including Fraser Crane, who would go on to have a successful spin-off show of his own. Prost translates to cheers from German, so this is no coincidence. Fallout 4 is filled with great Easter eggs like this, but this bar has to be one of the most blatant and one of my favorites. So make sure to stop by and grab a drink where everybody knows your name, even if it's been 200 plus years since they were alive. Thank you to Glowing Mushroom Snorter from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 4, the Commonwealth crawls with robotic friends and enemies alike. Post-war Boston seems to have no shortage of Mr. Handy robots and assaultrons that would love nothing more than to ruin the sole survivor's day. One of the most common robots found in Fallout 4 is the Protectron. These mechanical marvels come in various personality types. While some are friendly, stumbling upon a hostile Protectron can quickly turn ugly for wasteland wanderers. There is some easy to miss dialogue involved with these robots, and it comes from the utility variation of the Protectron. Suppose the sole survivor wears a mining helmet or a hard hat. In that case, the robot will complement them on following safety regulations.
Your compliance with hard hat regulations has been noted. Thank you for your cooperation.
When dealing with far less friendly Protectrons, we can do a trick that helps us dispatch them more easily. If we aim at the arms of the robot and successfully blow off the limbs, the Protectrons will enter a nuclear self-destruct mode and rush at us to deal damage with the explosion. Fallout 4 did a lot when it came to new ways to fight enemies, likely due to the work id Software provided for the combat features in the game. Fallout 4 stands out to me as having some of the best feeling combat in the series regarding gunplay. So remember to shoot for the arms if you want a big send-off for any Protectron that may cross your path. Not only is it a fast way of taking care of the robots, but who doesn't like a fireworks show? Thank you to Toasted Cat from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 4, one of the factions we can meet is the Railroad. The group prides itself on helping escaped Institute synths find refuge and a new life out in the Commonwealth and beyond. They also have a knack for research and development. One of the projects the Railroad seems to be working on is the Railway Rifle, which has the ability to fire railroad spikes towards your enemies at an incredible speed. Railroad member Tinker Tom has a hand in most of the group's projects, including the Railway Rifle, and we can see him testing it out with another faction member. In this scenario, if we take out the railroad agent while he is using the Railway Rifle, we can search him and find that he is using a prototype version of the gun, which will disappear after the sequence is finished. This makes the prototype Railway Rifle one of the rarest weapons in Fallout 4. This doesn't mean that it's a good gun though. This weapon was likely used so the scene could play out the way Bethesda wanted it to, as the prototype Railway Rifle has a base damage of 1, which is about 100 times less than the standard version, and even more terrible if you consider the perks that can boost damage for your player. Rare item collectors may want to grab this gun to store at their settlement. Still, I wouldn't try to take it to any gunfights, as the prototype Railway Rifle will barely make a dent in your enemies. Thank you to Draker the Heartbreaker and Not a Hacksaw from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 3, the Enclave is one of the most fascinating factions we can meet. While we do not get much interaction with them beyond fighting them, there are still some cool things to find inside the main HQ for the group, known as Raven Rock. One of the first interesting things about the base is that it's located in Pennsylvania. While most assume the entire map of Fallout 3 takes place in Maryland, with DC being the highlight, we can find a terminal in the Boston Bugle building in Fallout 4 that reveals the location. Inside the base, we can find out who sold out Project Purity to the Enclave when we meet Rivet City scientist Anna Holt in the barracks.
You? What are you doing here? They captured me. Brought me here from Project Purity. I didn't want to help them at first, but the technology they have here, it's so far advanced from anything I've worked with. They wanted information. About Dr. Lee, about Project Purity. They want to know how to start it up, and why it wouldn't work. I told them everything I could. About the Gecko, about the damage caused by the explosions, all of it. I'm sorry you see it that way. What are you going to do? Kill me over it? You should go. It sounds like you're in enough trouble as it is. And honestly, I don't want anyone to see me talking to you.
One of the base's walls has no collision detection, so we can pass right through it into the abyss, only to be respawned under the floor of the corridors. Speaking of the area under the main floors, inside the mess hall, which according to the wiki has 117 forks and thus the most we can find in any one area of Fallout 3, there is a fun attention to detail that is easy to miss. A lot of silverware has fallen through the grated floor and now rests at the bottom, waiting to be hoarded. We can also find the only laser tripwire traps in all of Fallout 3 here in Raven Rock. These traps also lie under the grated floor and will cause quite the stir-up if triggered. Raven Rock is a great location to explore, not only because of the great gear that can be found here, but because of how mysterious the Enclave can be. So make sure to check every corner the next time that you have to make your escape. In Fallout 3, the capital wasteland is filled with cool gear and clothes to find. While the selection is large, we can still find more when looking through the game files for Fallout 3, where we can find a ton of cut content. One of the cut armor sets has an interesting name, the Robo Thor armor, which can only be found by using console commands. While it looks identical to the Tesla armor that we find throughout the game, the stats take more after the Enclave armor. The Robo Thor armor is likely named this way due to its passing resemblance to the comic book version of Thor, with the helmet completing the look. I assume this armor may have been used for testing, and the developers gave it a fun name during production, ultimately cutting it out of the game before release. Mixing the armor with another cut item, the Discharge Hammer, a super sledge that does electrical damage, you can have your own post-war Thor fantasy against super mutants and raiders alike. And this armor is sure to put other heroes in the area like the Ant Agonizer and the Mechanist to shame. In Fallout 4, we can find a ton of clothing options that are sure to fit the style sense of any sole survivor. From post-apocalyptic raider garb to pre-war fancy wear, you will surely find something you like in the Commonwealth. Down at Monsignor Plaza, amongst the wreckage and destruction, we can find a couple of rare clothing items. First up, lying on one of the shelves, we can acquire the bathrobe. Before the Far Harbor DLC was released, this was pretty much the only location, after the pre-war introduction, to find this piece of clothing. This blue cotton robe comes equipped with slippers and plus 2 points to charisma. Plus, it's nice to stay comfy in the wasteland. Next up, we can find the Stars and Stripes bandana, which features the American flag design. The interesting thing about this rare face cover is that it features the real-life 50-star version of the US flag, which makes it the only time we see the actual design in a Fallout game, to my knowledge, with the exception of these army recruitment posters. The other US flags that we find in the game show the Fallout version of the design, as the 50-star variant was relinquished in 1969 in the Fallout timeline with the introduction of the Commonwealths. This is certainly the only item we can find that has been made from the old world flag design, and Monsignor is one of the only places we can find this oddity in Fallout 4. Both of these pieces of clothing are perfect for rare item hunters and make for great conversation at any settlement you decide to show them off at. Thank you to Zachary the Mad from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 4, one of the offered DLCs allows us to take control of Vault 88, clearing out various caves and underground sanctuaries to build the perfect vault for the human experiments Vault Tech wants to conduct. If we head to University Point Pharmacy and clear a path to this back room, we can find quite an interesting sight. There's a rather unique stone statue wearing a sea captain's hat peeking up from the rubble with a glaring red eye greeting us. The eye itself seems to be made by scaling down pool balls and stacking them in a specific way. Taking a look behind the debris, we can see that not much more of the figure is modeled in-game. This is the only spot we see such a statue in Fallout 4, and it's a strange thing to come across when sweeping a seemingly uninteresting location. In Fallout 3, one of the factions we can meet is the Brotherhood Outcasts. They left Lion's Brotherhood of Steel after the group seemed to depart from the original mission and core of the faction's motives. The first outcast we can talk to is Defender Morgan, who the Lone Wanderer can impress if they have a high enough intelligence stat by catching her Moby Dick reference.
You mean apart from the fact that they ditched their mission and went native? Sure. I bet you don't mind them being cuddly with the locals, but when we came out here we had a mission to do, damn it. But now they're wasting their time protecting yahoos like you, while Ahab Lyons is off chasing his super mutant white whale. Huh? And here I thought we had the only remaining copy of that. Anyway, I don't know if the old man's going to die from them, but he sure as hell looks like he's going to drag his soldiers down with him. But he's not wasting any of our time anymore, damn it.
We can also speak to Protector Kasdan, who can give us work finding bits of tech that he will pay for on arrival. If we happen to be wearing a set of Outcast power armor, Kasdan will confiscate it and give us a snarky remark.
I see you've got some of our power armor there. I'll just take that off your hands. I'm sure you just found it in the wastes and you're returning it to us, right? Because you'd have to be a real moron to try to turn it in for pay. Now, let's see what else you've got. Okay, then.
In Fallout 3, one of the most fascinating creatures is the Mirelurks that call the capital wasteland home. These mutated crabs can be quite the foes, still, they also possess intelligence levels that surpass even some humans living in the post-war world. A large group of the sea bugs have taken up shop at the old Anchorage War Memorial, and it's here that we can find a unique weapon that many players miss entirely. Just inside the service entrance, we can find a locked door that seems to have been modified to stay that way. Due to the Wasteland Survival Guide, a lot of people show up here at a pretty early level and won't have the 95 repair skill needed to fix the door outright. We can locate a door component in the clinic area of the memorial inside of an averaged locked safe. Now, if we have a repair skill of at least 35, we can fix the door, which will allow us access to the storage room. Leaning against the back wall, we can find the Tenderizer, and due to the steps needed to acquire it, it may be one of the rarest weapons in the game. That isn't the only thing we can find in this closet. On one of the shelves, we can see a key and a holotape. This will point us to the freezers below for the Anchorage stash, which will reward us with a few hundred caps and the Meyerler Cakes recipe. The unique sledgehammer, the Tenderizer, does a bit more damage than its common counterpart, and rare item hunters will want to add this to their collection anytime they find themselves in the War Memorial area. In Fallout New Vegas, the Mojave is filled with cruel raiders, vicious creatures, and superb locations that can turn any courier into a hardened warrior in no time. Amongst everything we can find, many valuable items wait to be taken, and some of the most expensive we don't even have the option to sell. The item with the most value in all of Fallout New Vegas is the disassembled weapons shipment guarded by the Fiends, which holds a value of 5,000. This is only used in a quest, but I thought it was worth mentioning in this video. Two stand out when it comes to the most valuable non-quest items. The first is virtually unobtainable due to being cut from the final game, the Mantis Scythe schematics. With a value of 800, they stand at the top of the most valuable miscellaneous items in the game. Well, in this case, cut from the game. Using console commands, we can spawn the schematics. Still, they will be added as a Deathclaw Gauntlet resource note instead of their original purpose, which was to allow the courier to craft the Mantis Gauntlet. Regarding non-quest miscellaneous items in Fallout New Vegas, the most valuable one we can find can't even be sold for its cap value. Cook's Fiend Stew Recipe. With a value of 400, this is the most expensive item in the game, not counting weapons and armor, of course. The item immediately gets added as a note to our Pip-Boy, preventing us from selling it. While Cook is known for his skill in the kitchen, after defeating the raider boss, we can harness this power for ourselves. Nothing beats a good stew, even if it's over 100 degrees in the post-war Mojave. Thank you to Corey G115 from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In the Fallout series, we can find a plethora of interesting locations. From sprawling cities to literal holes in the ground, nearly every place in the Fallout universe has something going on with it. Due to the setting of the Fallout universe, many of these locations have radiation hanging around in one way or another. Sometimes in pools of water, other times in the air itself, radiation makes up a large portion of what we can find in the Fallout series. Due to the abundance of this invisible killer, the question gets posed: what is the most irradiated area in the Fallout universe? Out of all the games released to date, where can we find the highest concentration of radiation? Some people may bring up the glow from the original Fallout as a contender, a West Tech facility that was directly hit by a warhead. Others may jump to say the glowing sea would have to take the gold, as we saw the destruction for ourselves in Fallout 4. Camp Searchlight in New Vegas is a great example, as are the nuked out remains of the Courier's Choice at the end of Lonesome Road, the Long 15, or the Legion-based dry wells. All are good choices to be the most radioactive spots in the Fallout series. One location in Fallout 3 takes the cake for sure though, with rad numbers jumping to almost 4,000 rads per second in certain areas. The Vault 87 entrance. This vault is the birthplace of the many super mutants and centaurs we find around the capital wasteland. This is due to heavy testing of the forced evolutionary virus inside, but just outside, we can experience the highest radiation count in the entire series. Cut content from Fallout 3 suggests that a terminal belonging to the Overseer would explain that the entrance to Vault 87 took a direct hit from a nuclear warhead, which resulted in heavy doses of radiation for anyone brave enough to venture outside. This wouldn't exactly explain the pre-war signs we see in front of the entrance warning of the extremely high rad counts ahead for any wasteland wanderers. I suppose these signs could be post-war, but that just seems unlikely, as they seem weathered and broken from years of exposure. Still, the direct hit lore is cut content, and the game doesn't do an excellent job of explaining why the radiation count is so high in this area. Perhaps just the presence of FEV alone is enough to boost these radiation levels. More likely, the signs were added as a game design choice to warn players of the incoming rad levels. The signs were then modeled to fit the Fallout universe and placed where they were needed. Vault 87 is, without a doubt, the most irradiated place in the Fallout series. But what's your favorite vault overall and why? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you to LTO MXR123 from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 4, each location we discover seems to have some kind of story to tell. From rundown buildings to long-forgotten valleys, the Commonwealth is filled with interesting tales to uncover for those who take the time to look for them. While old vaults and ancient structures are exciting, many great finds are hidden in plain sight. You never know what you will find when walking through a field or passing under a bridge. Sometimes, we can find references and Easter eggs to other great series in the process. Between Covenant and the Wildwood Cemetery, we can find a great reference to one of the best game series outside of Fallout, Telltale's The Walking Dead. Upon first glance, this scene seems like any other that we could find around the Commonwealth. Still, if we take a closer look, we can see that it is paying homage to a scene from the popular adventure game. At this location, we can see a tractor that seemingly has a dead settler trapped next to a broken fence. A couple of dead ghouls lay on the opposite side of the barrier, and a feral ghoul seems to have set up shop here. This mimics the scene we see in Telltale's The Walking Dead, when at Herschel's farm, Duck climbs onto a tractor and puts it in gear, which then traps Herschel's son Sean beneath it. This is made worse by the fact that walkers have started pushing through the fence, and one has its hands on the child while two are approaching Sean fast. No matter what choice is made in The Walking Dead, Sean will get chomped by the walkers, which prompts Herschel to kick everyone out of the farm. If we look at the scene, we can see now why there are two dead ghouls in the fence opening, and the settler is placed to represent Sean. The color of the tractors are even the same. This is an excellent shout out to a great series, and I love finding Easter eggs that pay homage to other titles in Fallout. The next time you're in the Covenant area, make sure to pay your respects to Sean and a great game by visiting this site. In Fallout 3, we can find many items that'll help us on our journey through the Capital Wasteland and some that don't do much of anything at all. Whatever the case, there are plenty of things for the Lone Wanderer to collect. The heaviest item in the game is also one of the most useless, the wood chipper, found sporadically throughout the wasteland. This item uses the same model as the leaf blower, with the massive difference being its weight, sitting at an astounding 50 pounds. The same is true for Fallout New Vegas, where the wood chipper tops the scales as the heaviest item in game as well, weighing more than power armor sets and doing pretty much nothing of use. It's always interesting to find which items are the heaviest or lightest, and it's no surprise that a wood chipper would be the top of the mountain. I'm surprised that we can even add it to our inventory, but perhaps the back pain isn't worth collecting these when we see them on our adventures. Thank you to Gus and Slick Daddy B from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, the courier makes the long journey through the Mojave, meeting the wonderful people that call the desert home. From the factions to the mutants, we have a chance to make an impact with the various choices that present themselves on our way to Hoover Dam. One of the choices we can make is taking the Wild Wasteland perk. This adds a lot of content that would have otherwise been left out and can make the trip through New Vegas quite a bit of fun. Suppose you have this perk and finish the Battle of Hoover Dam. In that case, when the credits begin to roll, the Wild Wasteland perk will add fun tidbits from the developers from the standard text that we see. Things like nicknames and funny quotes will start to appear, and it gives us a bit of insight into the humor of the team that made New Vegas. Another interesting note about the credits is that the Dead Money DLC is listed as Dead Monkey, which isn't just for the Wild Wasteland credits. This appears normally as well. While some would write this off as a typo, the DLC is listed often and each time this error occurs. I genuinely believe that you do not get the real New Vegas experience without the Wild Wasteland perk. The wacky encounters and Easter eggs that show up with the perk are worth far more than some of the items that become unobtainable when the perk is active. The Mojave is just a more exciting place with the Wild Wasteland.
Hog killing time.